Dolphins have a high sex drive, and gender is no barrier to their desires. Dolphin flippers appear to make perfectly good sexual stimulators, if they find the right spot. And male river dolphins, or butus, have been known to insert their penis into the blowhole on the top of a friend's head. It's all sex, and it all looks like fun. After all, who's to say sex needs to be about reproduction at all? Because even though sexual behavior is fundamental to birth, it's not always necessary. Send in the clones. But you'll need a microscope, not a telescope, to see them. Some of the most basic forms of life are actually the most sexually bizarre. Reproduction without sex is called cloning. It's fascinating, but definitely not out of this world. In fact, billions of organisms do it every day. Everything from strawberries and sponges to hydra and anemones. And, believe it or not, so do mammals. Technically, they can also clone, because if an embryo splits in two during the beginning of its development, the result is a pair of clones. We call them twins. But it's among the simplest life forms that cloning may have reached its sexual peak. This is where things start to get really strange. These are volvox, one of the most beautiful forms of microlife. The colonies of bright green cells that we see on our garden ponds as algae are actually clusters of single-cell organisms, living in colonies which clone to create new life. The yellow chunks are offspring, and every one is female, so they create what is known as a daughter colony. They form at the equator of the sphere, dividing until there are enough daughters to make a completely new sphere. Volvox has been described as one of the 7 wonders of the microworld. But they're just one example. Others have even more extraordinary reproductive strategies. To us, reproduction may seem inseparable from sex. Our reproductive biology is only a platform for the most amazing sex most of us will never see. Bacteria are everywhere, and bacterial reproduction is rampant. The cells divide themselves into 2 genetically identical individuals, a new life. This kind of population growth is exponential, growth without limitation. Impressive stuff, and we haven't even got to the sex yet. For bacteria, reproduction is reproduction, and sex is sex. They do both, just not at the same time. In their world, sex is about getting hold of genes and adding variety. They do it by collecting genetic matter from all kinds of places. Some is loose DNA scattered in the environment, gathered from passing viruses. But there's a shocking twist to their sex lives. Bacteria also indulge in bestiality. When they take genetic matter from bacteria belonging to another group, they're actually having sex with another species. But while sex is not confined to reproduction, and reproduction doesn't always require sex, there are still more shocking revelations to come. Try this one. Males are unnecessary. Believe it or not, some species can do without him, but not without her. It's a brutal fact, But sexually speaking, males are superfluous. You only have to look at how many species keep male numbers to a minimum. Just enough to keep the sperm coming. In some species of whiptail lizard, the male's been discarded altogether. Avoiding sexual reproduction has many advantages, so it should be no surprise to learn that some animals can create replicas of themselves by cloning, thereby removing the risk and energy expenditure of sexual reproduction. These all-female lizards appear to be reproductively self-sufficient, continuing the family line without males or copulation. And yet these lizards still seem to be going to all the trouble of courtship and mating. But why? Whiptails still need to reenact sex in order to release vital hormones, so they just go through the motions. This is a bit like lesbian sex, where one of the two plays at being a male. Those females not yet ready to reproduce take on the role of she-males. Once they've found another willing lizard, they'll mount it and imitate copulation. As strange as it may seem, all this imitation sexual behavior still fulfills a crucial biological purpose. So while there may no longer be any role for male whiptail lizards in this species, there still appear to be certain regular sexual behaviors hardwired into the hormonal systems of female whiptails. This she-male role produces the same result as sexual behavior did before these lizards evolved from a heterosexually reproductive species. For whiptails, reproduction still starts with sexual stimulation, groin rubbing. In fact, as far as sex goes, it's pretty energetic. The tail swings underneath the mounted lizard, then the jaws shift quickly from the neck to the pelvis as the genital openings are kept in close contact. Gripping stuff, but there's no real genetic role being carried out here. One explanation for this behavior is that some sort of reciprocity is at work. That is, the females who are stimulated and reproduce will later return the favor when they too will play a male role, stimulating the previously male females.